Welcome to the Hot Girl School, the podcast where we redefine confidence and go way beyond the reflection you see in the mirror.
We're your hosts, Lauren and Danielle, here to empower you to embrace your inner radiance because confidence is so much more than looks.
Whether you're strutting into an event or conquering the boardroom, join us as we explore topics like self-love, inner strength, and owning your unique journey to confidence.
So grab your favorite drinkie and turn up that volume because you're about to unleash your true potential.
Hello, hotties. School is now in session and it's fall. Woo!
And it's fall. Consider her shirt your warning that it is October in Arizona, which I love. Those are the best mornings, by the way. You can't miss one.
Well, I don't know. It's been a heat wave here, but story for another day.
Yeah. Arizona summer is not just 3 months. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. So what I want to talk about today is I am going to be interviewing Danielle because she is a very good mom, but also has very unique things that as a 39-year-old single woman, I have not seen, heard, witnessed other friends who have kids, which I have a lot of them, do these things. And so I want to include the girls who are thinking about having kids. This will give you something to jump off of. And for those of you who are in a relationship, maybe you already have them, these are some things to start talking about with your significant other, possibly just planting the seed to see if these would work well and be mashed into your parenting skills. So Danielle speaks to her kids like adults. And that is one of my favorite things because you can't just walk around doing baby talk all day. So when I see you talking to your kids, you address them, and the tone that you use is what I'm most impressed with. So I kind of want to just touch on that first and have an understanding where that came from.
Yeah, it came from my mom. My mom did the same thing. So my mom always gave us more credit, I think, than other people give kids. And I think that's where it stems from, is kids aren't given enough credit about their intelligence and what they can comprehend and what they do know. And when you speak to them to show that you recognize that they understand what's going on, it gives them innate confidence to go, wow, my mom gets me. And you'll be surprised when you start doing it, the conversations that you have with them you're like, wow, you're like, my daughter's 2, right? McKinley's 2 years old. And we're like, how does she speaks in full sentences and all of that? And it's because of the way that we talk to her. I truly believe that.
And your husband does it too. He speaks to her the way you do. And if so, is that something that you guys discussed, or is that something that you started and he followed your lead?
Yeah, no. So that's a whole nother topic of what did we discuss and not discuss. That's a fun one.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
Definitely
no,
one of the questions.
he definitely followed the lead there with it. And I think that as he saw it happening, it's not something we really talked about, but I think it was more like he observed it. He's like, oh, that's working. Let's keep doing it.
Did you go through a baby talk phase?
Never. No, like I
can't
literally
see you doing it, to be honest.
Yeah, never. Never ever. I mean, I remember, so my son is 5. He's almost 6. He'll be 6 in 2 weeks. And when he was born, I remember maternity leave was really lonely for me with my firstborn. I lived in Colorado. I didn't have any family out there. I only had a handful of friends because we didn't live there very long before we got pregnant, and none of those friends had kids. And we were like flipping a house at the time, and it was a project gone wrong. And so Joey was gone a lot during the first few weeks of Grayson's life, trying to get that figured out while he was on paternity leave. And I would just sit and read to Grayson. I would read books to him. I would talk to him like he was my little buddy. And it was like, he couldn't speak, obviously. He was a newborn, but it was like, he would look into my soul and I felt like he understood what I was saying. So
I'm sure
I
on
just
some
kept it
level
going.
he did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that story. Okay, so another really interesting thing that Danielle said to me one time, and she had said it in passing, and I don't know if I will ever forget it because she said, we don't keep secrets in my house. And that particular day, you gave me an example that your kids had just come from your mom's house, and I am totally not trying to rat out your mom, so that's don't like let it come across that way. But your mom had come home with Grayson and said, "Hey Grayson, remember, don't tell mommy the secret." And I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember this. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, like what does that mean?" And you were like, "We don't keep secrets in my house because," and I'll let you finish that and explain where you picked it up. Obviously, it's I understand why you implemented it, but like how do you that's a huge boundary to set. And we'll get there once you explain what it is. But I want you to tell it. I want it to come from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, sure. So secrets with kids come like what my mom was doing was completely innocent, right? It's one of those like special like bonding things. It can be used a lot as like, hey, this is between you and us. It's our special thing. It's our secret. My problem with that is that it sets the stage for pedophiles, for creepers, for people to then start using that innocent thing that happens between a grandchild and a grandparent become something so much darker and so much worse. So I was drawn to this correlation. I'm a huge supporter of human trafficking. I believe wholeheartedly there needs to be so much more effort into protecting children, especially. And it dawned on me. It was more just an epiphany. I didn't read it anywhere. I didn't hear about it anywhere. It was just a conclusion that I made that I was like, wow, a lot of these situations where kids are being abused, it starts around a secret. Hey, this is our secret. Don't tell. It's between us, you know? And so they're utilizing these innocent things that happen in almost everyone's life, especially between a grandparent and a grandchild, as a way to protect something dark. And so I came to the conclusion of, you know what, we're not going to do secrets. I don't want my kids to ever think a secret is okay because I want them to always come and tell me everything. So since forever, I have always told Grayson we don't do secrets, we don't do secrets. And what I learned is that you have to really talk to the people around your kids, like your aunts and uncles, your cousins, your close family friends, your mom and dad, because you have to explain it to them because it's innocent for people that love your kid and don't mean any harm and would never do anything. But that innocence is used by predators as a way to
Mhm.
protect something dark.
That is I first of all, I had goosebumps the entire time. Second of all, second of all, the fact that it was just an epiphany and you put the two together is super impressive and makes so much sense because I have some very, very close friends who were molested a lot when they were little. And they always say, I was told it was a secret. And if I told the secret, I would be killed or they would hurt my family.
Yeah.
Right. And to be very clear here, the secret was that they baked cookies. We should probably get to the the end of it. What your mom did with Grayson was you guys
Yeah.
or they made cookies. It wasn't anything, but I just remember how I don't want to say harshly, but how strict the boundary was that when you told me the story, I wasn't there and witnessed it. You told me the
Yeah.
story and it was like, we do, and you confronted your mom and said, Mom, we don't keep secrets in this house. And I get that it's like an innocent point of view from her, is like, it's just baking cookies. But
Right.
that's like your job as a parent to A, protect your child, and B, build the trust with your child. Because this, right? Do you feel like a part of it's building trust?
100% it's
Okay.
building trust, and you also want your like you are the safe space for your children, and they should be able to come to you for everything. Like Grayson started kindergarten this year, and there's been some highs and there's been some lows, and that's normal because kids are assholes just like adults. And he can come and
Mhm.
talk to me and there isn't any hesitation. He's like, "Mommy, can we talk?" And he knows that that's an
Mm.
option. And so I think that when it comes to the secrets thing, you just have to, once you lay it out, you're like, oh my gosh, like when I told you, I remember you were like, dude, that
Dude.
makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, talking to those around you and explaining it to them. And like for you, I understand that it's innocent, but what that does is it creates this opportunity for somebody who isn't innocent and somebody who does mean harm to use that innocence against my child. And I don't want them to ever think secrets are okay.
So how do you have that conversation with somebody who is not directly in your household about, I mean, I know you don't walk over and say, "Excuse me, I need to
Yeah.
talk to you. You're not allowed to have secrets with my children." So what does that conversation, are you looking for an opportunity to bring it up or is it just come up and then you throw it in there?
Yeah, no, I mean, so it's not definitely not something we talk about with everyone. So in your like close family unit, caregivers like our nanny, people that are going to be around your kids often and frequently in their life, those are the ones that you want to have the conversation with to explain why that's a rule in your house. And then it's really important the most to talk about it with your kids so that they know that hey, the secret isn't a thing and that they know to come tell you when someone is trying to do a secret with them.
Mm,
So like I've explained to Grayson like, "Hey, not everybody has this rule." I haven't gone into the depths of like what does this mean with him
correct.
obviously, right? But I talk to him a lot about, "Hey, everyone's house is different, everyone's rules are different." And so just, if somebody tries to tell you a secret or talk about it, their mom and dad might not be discussing it the way that we are, but just come tell mom and we'll discuss it. We'll talk through it and it'll be okay, but we don't do secrets. And he's like, okay, mom. And he does. Like, he's had little kids at school that have been like, it's our secret. And it's innocent
Yeah,
until it's not. Right. So it's just a matter of
100%.
having conversations with your child and then those that are in your like immediate circle. You're not going to go to like at the birthday party. Hey, we don't do
Right.
secrets. Right.
On the invitation, no secrets, please.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to how you speak to your kids. It's the tone of voice you use, it's being calm, it's remembering not to have an automatic reaction where you snap, right? Like if he does come to you with a secret, you still continue to make that a very safe space because A, you want to hear what the secret is, so you kind of want to get it out of him.
Yeah.
And B, you need to make sure that you don't scare him away for future times that he decides that he wants to tell you. Because if you have, in my opinion, one time where you don't react well,
Yeah.
he's just learned he can't tell you that. And that's
Well,
on the
and
parent
that is
side.
by far the hardest thing as a parent is holding your reaction because you're
Yeah,
like,
I've heard.
"I wanna kill someone." And you have to, like you really and that's thank goodness for Joey because that's where we get to have each other's back and, like, cry it out or scream it out or whatever, but with your kids, it's so important to be non-reactive as possible because they're watching your every move.
Oh,
He's
the poker
observing
face is in
everything.
full swing.
Everything. They're watching everything and they're taking it all in and you really are teaching them how to be a human and we all want emotional intelligence. We all want control over things that trigger us. So the more that you can embody that and show and practice it with your kids because it's actually you're challenged a lot with it and no one's perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. We all have our moments, but it's something that if you have an awareness to it and you can practice it, the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to throw something in. I was on a flight home about a month ago and I ended up talking to the guy next to me and he was short and covered in tattoos. And if you're watching this, hi, and thank you for the great topic. He was short and covered in tattoos, but he had big energy. And we got to talking, and he worked for some arm of the military. I don't remember, but he said that when his wife got pregnant, the first thing he did was he went to YouTube and started researching what do pedophiles look for in children. And
Yeah,
I was, again, completely taken aback. I've never had anybody tell me that was A, their first reaction, B, do it in general. And I said, well, what did you find out? Because, of course, now I'm super curious. He said that he found an interview with a man who was like a serial pedophile who was
mhm,
in jail and was interviewed. And the man said he looks for obviously the weak kids. There's no secret there. But what does that mean? It's the people, it's the parents who don't show up for their kids. So whether the kid is always walking home from school, whether it's like directly after school or a little bit later, then they follow the kid home. Is the parent home? Does the parent come to school? Is the parent come to school but not present? Is the parent, and I don't want to say scary, but do they have a presence, the parent, at all? Right. So he's like,
sure.
I went and got into Muay Thai. I'm a professional Muay Thai fighter. I went and like honed my gun skills. I increased the number of tattoos I had, and I make sure I talk about all those things. And everybody knows who I am when I walk into school. And I looked at him and said, sounds like you just saved two more lives. I mean, it's very scary that that's what you have to even think about. And another kind of random topic, but very relatable. I sell real estate, and a new thing that pedophiles are doing is they're booking Airbnbs next
Mhm,
to schools because they don't need
mhm.
a background check. And that is the easiest, closest way for them to get there without being detected, which is so
Yep.
creepy. People are
Yeah,
sick.
I mean, the thing we're probably the last generation that grew up being able to walk to school on our own, ride a bike on our own.
Trick or treating.
You don't see that anywhere, and it's a dark topic, but
Mhm.
it's one that needs more attention in my opinion because there's so much of it happening. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know that I can start in my own home and teaching my kids and then creating a ripple effect. And hopefully, if you never thought of the secrets thing before, now you have a new outlook on it and it's not too late to go back and have the conversation and create the rule of no secrets in your house.
Absolutely. And please reach out to Danielle specifically. I don't use it, so I can't help you there. But please reach out to Danielle if you have questions or like need help with wording or how you go about it. She obviously has experience. It's something she's been doing for years. This is literally something that can save lives. So it's super
Yeah.
important that you're paying attention to this. And another way, another like talking about saving, I want to go into saving relationships. Once you have kids, we all know that there's certain questions that you're supposed to ask, like how many kids do you want? What's your parenting style? How do we want to work? Do we want to have a nanny? Religion, like the main topics. What are some questions that you and your husband had or asked each other before you started having kids? Maybe like non-traditional questions.
Yeah, well, we're going to flip this because we didn't. And I want you to not do what we did and
That's
have those
very
questions.
surprising to me, Miss Little Researcher.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those things where we were always on the same page. We knew we wanted to have kids. We definitely talked about how many kids do we want to have. He wanted a football team, and I was like, I draw the line at 3. And if I have a boy and a girl, I'm done. If we have 2 boys and 2 girls, I'll go for a third. And I just knew, that he would be a great coach. He's very loving, he's very patient. I
Mhm.
knew that like all those qualities would make a really great dad. What I didn't think about, and I think this happens to a lot of new moms that, I've had the pleasure of talking to, is you don't talk about like who's going to get up in the night for the first 4 months.
That's a good one.
Who is what tasks that you might be taking are we now going to delegate? Like before I had Grayson, I did all the laundry, I did all of the cooking, I did all of the grocery shopping, and I loved it. I loved doing that. It wasn't a like, oh, everything's on me. I was happy to do it. I loved showing up in that way in our relationship. But once I had Grayson, I was like, holy shit, I can't do all this stuff anymore. And we didn't discuss any of it. And for our whole relationship, that's kind of how we roll. That's what worked for us in that season. And we, truthfully went through the darkest time in our marriage for the first, I would say, like 2 years after we had Grayson, because we were figuring out our new system, our new normal, our new groove. And it was a lot of like undoing of things that previously worked for us that no longer served us in that new season of being parents. So I wish, like, what I will tell you is if you have not had a
Yeah.
child yet, if you are pregnant, if you are thinking about it, if you are single and you're like, I know that this is what I want, here is my ninja tip. Start talking about what is it going to look like after the baby is here. Start assessing like what are the roles that you're each playing in the household currently. And women, I'm speaking to you, you are not going to be able to do as much and stay as fulfilled. You're going to need help. You're going to need to divide and conquer and talk through that stuff. Start to think through it. It's going to be different for everybody. Some people stay at home with their kids, some people work part-time, some people work full-time. So it's going to look different, but just start to look at, hey, like who's owning what right now, because it's going to change once you have the baby, and start talking through what does that change look like.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I mean, the questions that need to be asked. But like you
Mhm.
said, I think when you're in a really good, healthy, happy relationship, you just kind of feel like, oh, we're just adding it in. It's no big deal. Like you don't think,
Yeah,
like you said, like who's getting
that
up in
was
the middle of the
us.
night. You just kind of, and then it comes and you're like, wait, this is not what I planned for, or even how you envisioned it. And
Yeah.
during those 2 years, was there, and you do not have to answer this, is there like question of divorce, or was it just like we got to figure this out? Like did you see different sides of each other where you're like, I don't like you in this role, or was it just like we're a mess and we need to figure out how to make it smooth again?
Definitely we're a mess. Definitely times where we, I'm sure, despised each other. And I mean, look, like if you're walking around being like, my marriage is perfect, you're fucking lying. And you're gonna, and if it is perfect right now, you're gonna have a time when it's not so perfect. And we worked through it and we came out better for it. We're stronger than ever. And we're probably gonna, we plan on being together forever. We're gonna go through a lull again. Lulls are okay.
Mhm.
What can you learn from it? How can you get better? And truthfully, we lucked out on hard stuff. Like we lucked out on, we didn't really talk through like, how do we want them to be educated? What do we want around religion? How do we want to instill some of those values in them? And thankfully, my husband and I are aligned on all of that. Like, what do we want to do about vaccines? How do we, those are all things that you sometimes don't think through because you're just
Mhm.
excited and you're in a relationship and you're like, yay, I know I want to create life with this person. But those are serious topics that need to be discussed. And it's better to do it before because not most people aren't as lucky. It doesn't turn out like luck was on our side. We were very blessed to be aligned on things that we should have discussed before going down that path. And that saved us, a lot of hard times.
So let's just point out we're talking about somebody who had a super solid foundation and still went through 2 dark years together.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a relationship that's not standing on solid ground?
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna crumble the second that baby comes out because there's nothing to hold it together, literally nothing.
If you are listening to this and you think that having another baby is going to save your marriage, or having a child with someone is going to make the relationship better, make
Or
him
make
show
them
up
like
more,
you.
make him care about you more, make him call you back, make him do the things that you've been wanting and see you the way that you've been wanting to, I'm going to give you some cold, hard truth. It will not. It will
You
make
are
it
wrong.
worse. And
Mhm.
what you are doing is you are pushing the ball further down the field, but it's going to cross the line at some point. And so you're just delaying a hard time. Do not have a child to try and fix a relationship problem. Go fix you. Go to counseling. Go fix you. Like everything starts with you. Like when Joey and I were going through that hard time, the first thing that I started doing is like, where's my ownership in this?
Mhm.
What, like, are my expectations too high? What do I need to adjust to get to show up the way that he needs me to? And so that I can confidently be like, I need this. And I'm, like, so you're both putting in the effort. But
He
if
did
you
that
are
as well?
thinking,
He
oh,
did
yeah,
he reflected and turned in and said, "Hey," so, like, did you guys have meetings
absolutely.
about that? It just came up in conversation because it was such a topic at the time, like, you there was it was the elephant in the room, it had to be addressed?
Yeah, it was a lot. So we love to like walk and talk. Like now we
Yeah, the
do like
best.
sunrise walks in the mornings and that's when we, that's always been kind of our thing is we love to walk and talk. And we just are very good at communicating. I am somebody that when something's on my mind, I'm like, let's deal with it. Let's talk it through right now. He needs a little bit more time to process. So I had to learn to be like, hey, blah, 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 here's all the things. And then be like, all right, let's let him process that and circle back. Right. And so that's something I had to get better at. But he also came around to the fact that, like, okay, she really needs me to follow up on this. She's giving me the space to process. So I have to also respect that she's waiting for an answer and come back to her with the answer and not make her ask for it. Right. Or, and now he's gotten, we know each other. We've been together for 13 years. So it's a whole different ball game. But during that time, it was a lot of conversations and we definitely utilized therapy, which was a game changer.
Yeah. Wow, you just are a full of so many good things that I think, again, for as many brains as I've picked over the years, I have not quite heard everything that you have said. So that's why I wanted to ask some of these questions and be on the air so that we can share these because they're truly so helpful and outside the box. Any last things you want to share?
Babies are cool. If you're on the fence, having kids is by far one of the coolest things that I have ever done. But you want to
You
make
don't
sure
have
you
any
do it
mom
right.
guilt
You want
for
to,
work. You don't have any mom
oh, of
guilt for
course
working.
I do. Of course I do. I
Okay.
feel like we could do a whole episode on mom guilt and where it comes from, why it happens, how to deal with it. Oh yeah, that's like let's do a mom guilt episode. We should bring on like a panelist of
Yeah.
mommies to talk
Yeah.
about that.
I
Yeah.
can't relate,
No,
but
I
I
think,
have that guilt.
have the conversations. I think it's have the conversations, figure out what works for you. What works for me may not work for you. I mean, it's like discipline. Everybody disciplines their kids different. One of my
Mhm.
favorite books that I read on that was The No Drama Discipline. It's a great one, especially if you have a feisty one. I read it with Grayson, but Grayson, like, I all I have to do is look at him, and he's like, okay, back in line.
Oh, he's the
McKinley, no,
sweetest.
she is my sassy pants,
She's a
and
little
so
jalapeno.
I'm gonna reread it because I read it to for Grayson and I didn't need it, but it was so good. So I'm gonna reread it because McKinley, when you listen to this someday, you keep mommy on her toes.
You're gonna need a couple tidbits to get back into the game with her. She's
Yeah.
like, you're gonna like instill it. She's gonna be like, okay.
Hmm. Oh, we're gonna have memes for days. So yeah, no, and I think I love talking about mom stuff. I didn't have a lot of close mom friends when I had Grayson, and nobody talks about the fourth trimester after you have the baby, and so
Mm,
I mean, I struggled with postpartum depression. There was a lot of things that I went through. So if you are struggling as a mom or not knowing what to do, like connect with me. Let's have a discussion. And I'm sure we can learn something from each other.
yeah, Danielle has so many helpful things, and because she loves to problem solve, if she hasn't been there, she certainly can help you brainstorm and figure out what that next step is that maybe works best for you. So, thank you for sharing the very inside and personal side of your life and your story. It's always good to hear about those things. Lets me get to know you a little bit more, and it will help everybody who's listening. So all of our hotties are going to be even better moms and better single girls, asking the right questions and making sure their kids are safe and protected.
Bye, hotties.
Thanks, girls. Bye.